The world-honored one, while going north from Rajagriha, stopped in a grove west of Vaishali. At that time, a person by the name of Saṅgha, who was of the Lichavi clan and who had recently forsaken the teachings of the world-honored one, was telling the people of Vaishali.
Gautama does not possess superhuman teachings. He does not have superior views and knowledge. He teaches things that he has thought up or that come to his mind on the spur of the moment. According to those teachings, a person can attain a state without suffering by thinking about it without performing any problematic practices.
While making his alms receiving rounds one early morning, Shariputra heard about these remarks and reported them to the world-honored one. The Buddha said,
Shariputra, Saṅgha uttered those words in anger, but by attempting to revile me, he actually praised the Buddha. He said that according to my teachings, a person can attain a state without suffering by just thinking about it. These words are words in praise of the Buddha. Shariputra, this foolish person does not know that I possess 10 epithets. They are Tathagata, Arhat, rightly and fully awakened one, endowed with knowledge and conduct, well gone, knower of the world, preeminent leader of those to be trained, teacher of gods and men, Buddha, and world-honored one. Shariputra, the Buddha also has 10 powers. With these 10 powers, the Buddha, knowing the states of all things, proclaims the Dharma to all people. These 10 powers are that the Buddha knows what is possible and what is impossible, that the Buddha knows the effects of actions, that the Buddha knows the various propensities, that the Buddha knows the various realms, that the Buddha knows the supreme and non-supreme faculties, that the Buddha knows the path that goes everywhere, that the Buddha knows how to purify the defects in the many kinds of meditation, that the Buddha knows his former abodes, that the Buddha knows the life and death of beings with his divine eye, and that the Buddha knows the destruction of defilements. These are the 10 powers of the Buddha. Shariputra, Saṅgha, knowing this, says that Gautama does not possess superhuman teachings and that he does not have any superior views or knowledge. He will descend into hell unless he recants his words and changes his ideas. Shariputra, the Buddha possesses the 4 qualities of fearlessness or self-confidence. Someone in this world may criticize me, saying, "You think that you have understood all dharmas, but you have not understood them. You think that you have extinguished all defilements, but you have not extinguished them. You think that you can explain what dharmas are obstacles to enlightenment, but you cannot explain them. You think that you can explain the path that leads to nirvana, but you cannot explain it." But these words of revilement are not right. I do not accept the basis for such criticism. Because I do not accept the basis, my mind is at ease. I do not know any fear. Shariputra, I shall tell you this. I have gone many times to the meetings held by the Kshatriyas. I have spoken with them on these occasions on a common basis of equality. I did not have any fear whatsoever. This is the same for any meeting I may attend. Shariputra, there are 4 kinds of birth. They are birth from eggs, in which the egg breaks and birth takes place. Birth from the womb, in which the womb is broken and birth takes place. Water birth is from decayed fish, meat, spoiled rice gruel, or stagnant water in a marsh or pond. Metamorphic birth is the birth that those in the heavens, those in hell, and some human beings undergo. Shariputra, I know all these. I know the paths that lead to these. Again, I know nirvana and the path that leads to nirvana. I know the actions by which one enters nirvana. Shariputra, I know what will happen to certain persons. This person will undergo this because he is walking the path in the manner that he is. I know that this person, after death, will fall into hell. After watching this person with my superhuman vision, I see that he has gone to hell and is undergoing acute suffering. Shariputra, this person who is reviling me, says,
Gautama does not possess superhuman teachings, neither does he possess superior knowledge and views. Gautama teaches anything that happens to come to his mind.
This person will descend into hell unless he discards these ideas.
The world-honored one then proceeded to the north and entered the town of Anyapia in Mulla. One day he started to go out on his alms receiving rounds when he realized that it was still early, so he decided to visit a traveling teacher, Bhargavagatra, at his hermitage. Bhargavagatra said to the Buddha,
Most virtuous one, the day before yesterday, Saṅgha of the Lichavi clan came to my place. He was saying that he was no longer a disciple of the world-honored one and had left your Saṅgha. Is this true?
The world-honored one answered,
Bhagavagotra, it is exactly as he said. Saṅgha came to my presence several days ago saying,
I am leaving you. I shall no longer stay with the world-honored one because the world-honored one does not teach me superhuman teachings and miracles.
To him, I said, Saṅgha, I never asked you to come and reside with me. I never promised you that I would teach you superhuman teachings and miracles. Then who has broken a commitment? Saṅgha, my teachings are for those who wish to enter a state where there is no suffering. In this regard, what difference is there in the practice or non-practice of miracles? Saṅgha, you have praised the virtues of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Saṅgha. If you leave this place of pure practices, people will say that you were not able to endure the practice of these pure activities. Bhagavagotra, this was my answer to him. I further counseled him as follows, Saṅgha, when I was staying at the village of Uttaraka in Bhumu, I had you accompany me on an alms receiving round one early morning. At that time, a naked ascetic, Kshatriya, in accordance with the dog precepts, was crawling on the ground with his hands and feet and eating the food on the ground. Upon seeing this spectacle, you praised the actions of this ascetic who practiced the dog precepts, saying,
Oh, what a good and wonderful thing this sage is doing.
I criticized this mistaken and shameful teaching and prophesied that this dog precept ascetic would die within 7 days of stomach disorders. This happened just as I predicted. Saṅgha, in spite of this, you are still attached to this type of teaching. There was another similar incident while we were at the Kutagara Hall near Vaishali with a naked ascetic named Kandaramasuka. He performed such acts as not wearing clothes all his life. He would not permit women to come close to him, would not drink alcohol or eat meat, would not eat white rice or rice gruel. He would not even take a step outside the confines of Vaishali. By performing these ascetic practices, he attained a high reputation. Saṅgha, you, by becoming a slave to outward forms, thought that this ascetic had attained enlightenment. Again, just as I predicted, this ascetic gave up his ascetic practices and left for places unknown. Again, a person named Pāṭikasuttānta also gained acclaim from the people for his ascetic practices. He criticized me, claiming that his performance of miracles was far superior to mine. At that time, you believed what he said and you reported to me what he was saying. I said that Pāṭikasuttānta would not recant or renounce his ideas and views. Also, I said that he would not come into my presence. The next day, taking you with me, I went to Pāṭikasuttānta's place of abode. People assembled, thinking that there would be a contest in performing miracles. Pāṭikasuttānta secretly stole away to the hermitage of Tindakanu, a garden of wandering ascetics. The people followed him to this hermitage and pleaded with Pāṭikasuttānta to have a contest with Gautama. Pāṭikasuttānta, while saying,
I shall go! I shall go!
would not come out from the hermitage. The people attempted to bring him out, but all attempts ended in failure. When all was said and done, Pāṭikasuttānta would not come into my presence and did not recant his words or renounce his ideas and views. Saṅgha, you still seek further superhuman teachings and abilities even after seeing my superhuman teachings and powers. Is not this a great mistake on your part? Bhagavagotra, in this manner, I tried to teach him, but he was so absorbed in outward forms that he could not see the inner meaning, so eventually, he left my Saṅgha.
Bhagavagotra addressed the Buddha, saying,
Most virtuous one, I believe that those who revile the most virtuous one and his disciples are in the wrong. Most virtuous one, will you please teach me the path that will lead me to pure enlightenment?
The world-honored one said,
Bhagavagotra, it is difficult for a person like yourself who have different convictions and viewpoints to try to enter pure enlightenment. It will be well for you to maintain your faith in me.
And Bhagavagotra greatly rejoiced in the words of the world-honored one. He vowed to maintain his faith in the world-honored one. The world-honored one traveled southward and entered the city of Rajagriha. There the non-Buddhists were uttering strange rumors, saying,
In the teachings of the Buddha, there is nothing superhuman. He has come to the end of his career. He does not possess any miraculous powers to show.
The world-honored one, realizing that the time had arrived when he could not avert a confrontation with the followers of other teachings, made the following proclamation.
In 4 months, at a place east of Shravasti called Mango Grove, I shall show my miraculous powers.
Then the world-honored one left Rajagriha, took the road leading north, and arrived at Shravasti. South of Shravasti, and east of Jita Grove, there is another grove. The world-honored one, accompanied by his disciples, entered this grove. The people of Shravasti and the followers of other teachings followed the world-honored one. The watchman of the grove presented the world-honored one with a mango fruit. The world-honored one ate the fruit, gave the seed to Ananda, and ordered him to plant it in the soil nearby. As soon as the seed was put into the soil, the world-honored one washed his hands over the planted seed. Then, to the astonishment of all, the earth suddenly opened up and a bud started growing out of the ground before the eyes of the spectators. Then leaves started to appear on the branches, and soon flowers started to bloom, and fruit appeared. The people were all struck with awe and praised the greatness of the Buddha's power. The leader of the non-Buddhists started to make preparations to steal away. While the people were in a state of amazement, suddenly, there appeared a large road across the sky that ran from east to west. The world-honored one quietly rose into the sky and stood astride the road. From the body of the Buddha issued 2 streams of fire and water. From each pore of his skin came similar kinds of wonders. It was a spectacle that could not possibly be expressed in words. Then the world-honored one became 2 persons. The 2 forms of the world-honored one stood, sat, and walked. While they were doing this, they conversed with each other. This dialogue consisted of discussions on the deep meaning of the Dharma. The people, looking upward, seeing this miraculous scene and hearing the deep meaning of the Dharma, all praised the virtues of the Buddha, and they came to understand the 4 noble truths. Thus did the world-honored one exhibit his miraculous powers. Then, leaving the people, he ascended to the Triyastringsha heaven to the presence of his mother, Queen Maya. The multitudes, however, did not show any sign of departing.